on the basics. What is iCloud? Well, I like to say it's a collection of internet services from Apple, which is kind of true, but really it breaks down into three main categories. There's online storage, which of course we'll talk a lot about. There's a mechanism to sync stuff amongst your Apple devices. So you'll sync stuff to the cloud from your Mac, iPhone, iPad, Apple TV, Apple Watch, whatever, and then from the cloud down to your other devices. So all that syncing is a major feature of iCloud. And of course, if you go to iCloud.com, you'll see web apps. You'll see a web version of Mail and Contacts and Calendar and Pages and Numbers and Keynote and so on and so on. So a lot of the things that you would ordinarily do with your Mac or iPhone or whatever, you can also do on the website. So that's kind of what iCloud is. And I read a statistic recently, I forget the exact number, but it was like 800 and some million people, almost a billion people have iCloud accounts. So you undoubtedly have one. You might have more than one. And that's okay. That's a good thing. iCloud accounts are free. They're useful. They can do a lot of good things for you. They can solve a lot of problems. You should be glad that you have an iCloud account. However, you might want to be selective about what features you use and how and where you use them. I know I certainly am. Now, there are lots and lots and lots of iCloud features. I'm going to just go through a quick list here just to mention, not even all of them, but just some of them. And for most of today, we're going to concentrate really on just two or three, because those are the areas that there are the most questions about. So, of course, everybody who signs up for iCloud gets a free somebody@icloud.com email address. So that's, and of course, you don't have to use it, but you can if you want to. So that's one thing. You get the capability to sync lots of different data amongst your devices. I mentioned a few of them there, but not only these, not only Apple's own apps like Mail and Contacts and Calendar, but also a lot of third-party apps can sync their data with each other through iCloud. And syncing media, that is music that you've purchased from the iTunes store, for example, photos, documents, movies, TV shows, a lot of different kinds of, and of course apps as well. Basically, the kinds of stuff you can buy from Apple, you can sync across your devices. If you have up to 6 family members, can join a family sharing plan in iCloud, and that basically means that a certain set of stuff can be shared within the family. We use that here. So, for example, when Soren wants to buy a new game for his iPad, he'll go and say, Dad, click the button that basically says, Dad, can I buy this? And I'll say, well, it's $4. Okay. And so I approve it on my device. So we have one credit card that is used for all the family purchases. And we can see each other's, calendars and shopping list and apps that other people buy and that kind of stuff. iCloud Photos, of course, you can put all of the stuff that you have in Photos, all of your photos and videos. You can sync that to the cloud so that those will show up on Apple's website, show up on your other devices, and there's all kinds of other sharing and features related to the photos. There's Find My. It used to be Find My iPhone and Find My Friends, and there was Find My iPad and Find My Mac, and Apple finally just said, let's just call it Find My. So you can find people and you can find stuff. That's an iCloud feature. Also, if you have iPhone, iPad, or iPod Touch, you can optionally use iCloud to back up all the stuff on there. If you buy an app from Apple, you don't need to back that up because Apple already has a copy of it. But anything that's on your iPhone that Apple doesn't already have a copy of, your personal data, your personal photos and voice memos and apps, data from your various apps, you can back all that up to iCloud. Now, there are other things that iCloud does too. This is sort of the biggest, the most prominent things. iCloud Mail I'm just going to spend 2 slides on. There's not a whole lot to say because in some senses it's just an email account. We all have email accounts. I can't even tell you how many email accounts, probably 10 or 12 different email accounts, and my iCloud account is one of them. And iCloud email works pretty much like every other email account. So you get an iCloud.com email address. Great. You can access that email account either in the Mail app on your Mac, in the Mail app on your iOS or iPad device, or you can access it on the web. So all of that is pretty standard. You can sign up for an email address with Google and get kind of the same thing, or with Yahoo or lots of other providers. Now, I want to talk a little bit about syncing. We're going to talk a lot about syncing in general, but when it comes to email, so your iCloud email account, in some respects, is just an email account, and it uses IMAP, which means that the server, the cloud someplace, somewhere in, I don't know, North Carolina or I don't know where. Anyway, the server has kind of the master copy of all of your messages and mailboxes. So if you make a change on your Mac, like you delete a message, or you move it into a new mailbox, or you reply to it or forward it, whatever, you make some kind of a change, then your Mac will tell the server, hey, make that same change there, and then it'll make a change to the master copy. It'll put it in the different mailbox or delete it or whatever has to be done. And then the server will say, hey, all of your other devices, your iPhone and iPad and whatever, hey, make that same change. That is just the normal way the IMAP works, and it works that way whether you have an iCloud account or some other kind of email account. So by default, the main thing that that is going to sync automatically is your messages and mailboxes. Now, iCloud adds a little bit of extra special sauce. So, I got my order confused. I'll get to the special sauce in the next slide. iCloud does not sync messages and mailboxes from your other accounts. So let's say I've got a Gmail account on my Mac and a Yahoo account and an Outlook.com account and whatever. So each one of those individual email accounts, they might all show up in Apple Mail. They are all going to individually, separately sync with their service. My Outlook account will sync to iCloud, or to Outlook, I mean. My Gmail account will sync to Gmail. My Yahoo account will sync to Yahoo. The actual messages and mailboxes, iCloud doesn't know about them, doesn't care about them, doesn't touch them. However, what iCloud can do is sync your account names and settings. So what that means is, let's say I've got a brand new Mac. I open it up. Great. Let's set up my iCloud account. Great. I set that up. Now I'm going to set up my Gmail account on my Mac. So I enter, my username and password and all of my preferences and settings in Apple Mail. Then I go over to my other Mac and I open it up and hey, I found this other account for you. Do you want me to turn it on? And you click, yes, turn that on. So what that means is simply that iCloud will copy those account settings, your username and password and preferences, those kinds of things, from one Mac to another if you wanted to. So it's not syncing the actual messages or the mailboxes, it's just syncing the fact that you have this account and how it could go about logging in. Then, once I've said, yes, go ahead and turn that on the second Mac, that second Mac will independently sync the messages and mailboxes with whatever that mail server was. Sadly, this feature only works between Macs. So if I now buy a new iPhone and I turn that on, log into my iCloud account, I can't grab all those account settings for my various email accounts that I set up on my Macs and that are syncing so beautifully between my Macs that they don't sync to iOS devices, unfortunately. So, in addition to account settings, and in addition to the iCloud messages themselves, iCloud can also sync stuff that is in the Mail app itself. That would include things like smart mailboxes, signatures, the names of flags, if you go to the bother of giving your flags names. If you're using Catalina, that can also include blocked senders and muted conversations. That also applies to iOS 13 and iPadOS 13. So iCloud can sync all those sort of extra things that are related to email, but they are not actually part of your iCloud email account. And that is all I really have to say about iCloud Mail. If you have questions about it, we can come back to it later. But I want to spend most of my time talking about iCloud Drive, because iCloud Drive is weird and it's confusing. So let's see if we can figure it out. So what is it? Well, I mean, at its most basic, Apple is letting you have some storage space on a server someplace. And it has these hooks that are built into macOS and iOS and various apps that allow files and folders to sync to, between that device and the cloud storage, which is, I mean, a lot of other companies offer similar things. So that's pretty familiar by now. That's at its most basic. It's just syncing files and folders to the cloud in a way that's built into macOS and your other devices, and you can access it without any extra software. So in that respect, it's sort of like Dropbox, OneDrive, Google Drive, and a whole bunch of others like that. Now, it's not identical. Dropbox has a lot of features that iCloud Drive does not. iCloud Drive has features that Dropbox does not. They, the Venn diagram is like, 50% overlap or something, but it's not perfect. So I wish I could get rid of Dropbox, actually, because with every new release, it gets more and more annoying, and they add features that I don't need and don't understand, and that are just clutter as far as I'm concerned. All I really need is the file storage and sharing. But there are still some things that Dropbox can do that iCloud Drive can't do. And so unless iCloud Drive picks up those other features, I have to have both. Now, I want to be clear, because I've talked a lot in many books and articles, and probably with you guys in the past, about backups. Backups are a really big deal to me, a really, really big deal. You all got to have backups. You have to have lots of really great backups. iCloud Drive is good for syncing stuff, for syncing files and folders between, one Mac and the cloud, between one Mac and another, between your Mac and your iPhone, things like that. It is not, however, backup. It is just syncing. When I say it's not backup, what I mean is that if you delete something from one place, it gets deleted from everywhere. And kind of part of the point, one of the biggest points of backups is being able to recover stuff that you have accidentally deleted, or you delete something on purpose and then later on find out that you need it. Now, there is a little asterisk there next to the word just, and I will explain that in a little bit. That it can, under some circumstances, serve a limited kind of pseudo backup purpose, but it isn't backup. I want you to just think of it as sync. Whether you use iCloud Drive or not, or however you use it, you still need separate backups. All right. I'm going to show you a whole lot of screenshots, and these were all done on my Mac. I could show you comparable things on my iPhone or iPad. They're laid out a little bit differently, but they have essentially the same options. But just to keep things simple, I'm going to show you the examples from a Mac. So this is the Apple ID preference pane in Catalina. Now, for anyone still using Mojave or earlier, you will go to the iCloud pane of system preferences. In Catalina, for some reason, and I don't know why, Apple decided to make iCloud a subcategory of the Apple ID preference pane. So you go to the Apple ID preference pane, and then over there on the left, you can see I've selected iCloud. And then in the main part of the window there, you see all the same controls and checkboxes that you would previously have seen in the iCloud preference pane. So most of us will probably just go in here, if we haven't already done so long ago, and check all the boxes. Yes, sync mail. Yes, sync photos. Yes, sync calendar and reminders and all those things. That is sort of the normal or default way to use iCloud. Just go in there, turn everything on. There's some further things down there that you would have to scroll to see, like iCloud keychain and Find My Mac and so forth. But for everything that gets a checkbox, that stuff is synced. Now, at the very top is the checkbox for iCloud Drive. So when that is checked, when it's turned on, you will see a little options button next to it. If you were to click that, you would have this little sheet that pops down that shows you all the different types of data that iCloud Drive is syncing. Now, most of these are the names of apps. So iCloud Drive is syncing data from 1Password and Automator and Preview and the whole long list. And what that simply means is that in the Finder, in the iCloud Drive folder, which I'll show you in a second, you'll see a folder for each of those apps. And that means that that app on your Macs and iPads and iPhones can all access that shared data. So if I'm using Automator and I save something to iCloud Drive, then my other Mac will be able to open that up and see that. You're going to also notice at the very top is Desktop and Documents folders, and that in this screenshot it's unchecked. We're going to come back to this in a little bit and we'll talk all about that, but just make a mental note of that for now. All right, so I've turned on iCloud Drive and I've left, by default everything's checked. So leave some stuff checked. What's this going to look like in the Finder? Well, if you go to the sidebar in any Finder window and you select iCloud Drive, then you will see a whole bunch of folders there. And the folders mostly should match that list that I just showed you. Every app is going to have a folder. Now, there are some qualifications and exceptions, but very roughly speaking, that's what you're seeing here. Now, what you are seeing at this moment is a folder on my Mac. It's not, well, you're seeing a folder on my Mac, all of whose contents are synced to the cloud. So if I go to iCloud.com and click iCloud, I log in, I click iCloud Drive, I should see all the same stuff there. If I sign into iCloud Drive on another Mac, go to the same place, I should see all the stuff there. So all this stuff syncs up to the cloud, syncs down to your other devices. But it's just a folder. So if I wanted to, I could drag any file I wanted into this overall iCloud Drive folder, or I can make new folders. You see down there, sort of in the middle, there's a folder that says Joe's Documents. So I just made that, just like you make a folder in any place else on your Mac. I can make as many folders as I want. I can call them whatever I want. I can put whatever stuff in them I want. They're just folders. The only thing that's different about folders that are in this, under this heading of iCloud Drive, is that anything you put in there, any file, any folder, will sync up to the cloud. It'll sync down to your other devices. That's what makes iCloud Drive a special folder. Again, assuming that you have that turned on. Now, one of the things that you can do now that your stuff, the stuff within that folder is synced up to the cloud and to your other devices, is you can share. So, again, I've got iCloud Drive selected over there in the Finder. Now I'm going to go select something. It could be a folder or it could be a file. Let's say I've selected my Joe's Documents folder, and then I go up to the toolbar and you'll see the sharing icon, the little box with the arrow pointing out of it. And I will go down and choose Add People. So if I want to share something, I select the thing I want to share, go up there, click the icon, choose Add People. Okay? When I do that, this little dialog pops up, and the first thing it wants me to choose is how am I going to inform the people that I'm about to share this with that it's shared. Now, by default, it selects messages. So the idea is I'm about to share this folder, and then I'm going to send you a message telling you that I've shared it with you. If you would rather send an email message, great. Click mail instead. If you don't want, if you just want to like write it on a postcard or put it in a document or share it in some other way, no problem. You can just select copy link. Or you can choose AirDrop if you want to send it to another device in your immediate vicinity. That is just how I'm going. All this is going to do is give me a link. This is only how I will eventually go about sharing that link. So once you've selected that, you will see below is a little thing that says Share Options. You want to click that triangle to see what the options are. And there are two things you can set. The first thing you can set is who can access this. Now, by default, it's only people I invite. So if I send you a link, that's going to be, iCloud is going to know that you, because I have put your name on it, are a person that is allowed to access this. But if I want to make something public, then I would just say anybody with a link can access this. So that's up to you. If you're sharing something privately, you choose only people you invite. If you're sharing something publicly, you choose anyone with a link. Then the second choice you get to make is down here under permission. This person or these people that I'm sharing it with, can they make changes to it or not? So let's say I had a folder full of, like a PDF of this presentation that I wanted to share with you. I would make that link public. So I would say anyone with a link can view it. But then I would say view only for permissions, because what's going to happen is Joan is going to open up that PDF and like mark it up with smiley faces and doodles of kittens and things, and we just can't have that. So I would want this to be read only. However, if let's say I'm collaborating with another author on a book, we're sharing files back and forth, we want to both be able to make edits to them, then I would want that to be can make changes. I want the other person to be able to make changes to the file or the folder that I'm sharing. So I make those choices, I click the share button, and then Apple shares, it's already got the files, they're already in iCloud Drive, so they're already on Apple servers. Apple just generates a link for you. And if you selected messages, it will paste that link into messages, and then you can address that message to whoever you want it to go to and send it. If you selected mail, it's going to open up a new mail message with the link already pasted in, and you can send the mail to whoever you want. And that's pretty much that. You can share stuff in iCloud Drive with anyone. Now, if the other person doesn't have a Mac or an iOS device, they will be able to go onto the iCloud website to view the stuff. But of course, it works best if all the people involved do have Apple devices. Now, there's another aspect to iCloud Drive, and this is, Photos does the same thing, and other apps within macOS and iOS also do the same thing, but I'm specifically going to talk about the way it works within iCloud Drive, and that is called optimized Mac storage. Basically, the idea is this. Let's pretend that I have a really inexpensive, low-capacity MacBook Air. It's got 128 gigabyte SSD or whatever, just not a whole lot of space. Less space than I need. And I'm going to be taking pictures, and I'm going to be recording videos and putting more and more stuff on there. And of course, I want all my stuff to be synced with my other devices over iCloud Drive and available on the web. But sooner or later, and it's probably going to be sooner, my drive is going to fill up. What happens when the drive fills up? Well, if you enable optimized Mac storage, then what happens at the point where your drive gets close to being full is Apple says, okay, you don't have enough space for the next thing that you're going to add. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and delete the local copy, but we still have the original up in the cloud. That's still the master copy. We still have it. It's cool. You can get it whenever you need it. You will just have to re-download it. So what optimized storage means is that if you start running low on space, Apple will start deleting stuff off of your computer that you haven't used recently that is taking up the space you need for the new things. They're going to keep the stuff safe in the cloud. You'll still see icons for them in the Finder, and you can still download them whenever you need them. That's optimized Mac storage. So back here in the Apple ID preference pane or the iCloud preference pane, you'll notice this checkbox. You'll also notice that I have it unchecked because, long story. Anyway, if you check this box, initially nothing will happen. And if you have loads of extra storage space on your Mac that's unused, maybe nothing will ever happen. All this checkbox means is if and when I start getting low on storage space and I attempt to save something new to iCloud Drive that wouldn't fit there, that would put my Mac over the limits of its internal storage, then please do go ahead and save it to iCloud Drive, but delete my local copy of something just to make space for it. So that's what that means. Now, how is this going to work in real life? So here's a folder. Here's an iCloud Drive folder. And what I want you to notice is that all of the icons have a little cloud with an arrow icon right to the right of the name. So there's one that's kind of blown up right there in the middle for downloads. The other ones are smaller. What that icon means is this thing, this folder or this file, we have a copy of it in iCloud Drive. It's safe in the cloud. All you have on your Mac is just the icon. That little cloud symbol means it's only stored in iCloud. It is not stored locally on your Mac. But I want to have it on my Mac. If you want to have it on your Mac, you just double-click it. And then your Mac will immediately download it from iCloud, and then it's just on your Mac. That little icon will disappear, and you'll be able to interact with it just like any other file or folder. Now, there is another subcategory of iCloud Drive that has been around since Sierra. So it's been around a few years, but it has caused a lot of grief to a lot of people, and I want to talk about that, and that is desktop and document sync. So remember back here when we went here the first time and I said, you select iCloud Drive and you go to the options button, you click that, and up the top there's desktop and documents folder, and I have it unchecked. Well, that's what we're going to talk about now. So here's the idea. Apple realized that a lot of people have multiple Macs, and a lot of people would like to have basically the same documents on all of their Macs. And the main places that most people store their documents are either on their desktop or somewhere inside the documents folder. So Apple thought, well, hey, we already have online storage, we already have syncing. What if we synced those two folders too? So in theory, what the idea behind this is once you check this box, then everything on your desktop syncs up to the cloud, and then it'll sync down to your other Macs that also have this checkbox selected. Everything in your documents folder, again, syncs up to the cloud, syncs down to your other Macs. You make a change on one, it's reflected on all the others. It's so easy! What's not to love? Well, there are some things not to love. One of the things that is not to love is that a lot of people, including my wife, who you met earlier, didn't mean to turn this on, and one day they found out, hey, it's on. What? What happened? Well, when you upgrade to a new version of Mac OS, there will be a screen saying, hey, do you want to sync your desktop and documents folders? You do, don't you? Yes, it's already pre-checked. Like, yes, we're assuming that you want us to do this. And you have to deliberately uncheck that to get it not to sync. So that is one way it happens to a lot of people is just, oh yeah, I'll just accept all the defaults, and one of the defaults happens to be syncing this stuff. So you could find yourself in a situation where this stuff is synced and you didn't intend it to be. Well, what would be the problem with that? Why would that be a bad thing? Isn't that a good thing? If I have multiple Macs, don't I want to have the same stuff on all of them? And if I have even one Mac, wouldn't it be great to have an extra copy in the cloud that I can get at if I ever need to? And for some people, the answer is yes, that's great. It's really helpful. It's useful. It'll make your life better and easier. Go for it. I am not one of those people. And one of the reasons is I have a million, that's a little exaggeration, I have a lot of files in those two folders, a really huge quantity of data, including some gigantic, tens of gigabytes in size files that change very frequently. So if iCloud is syncing all that stuff, then it's going to really overwhelm my internet connection, just constantly uploading or downloading stuff. Maybe I don't have enough bandwidth. Maybe I have a data cap. Maybe I just don't want to slow down my entire network. And also, slow down my Mac because it's busy doing all this copying all the time. Also, though, maybe I have some really sensitive stuff on my Mac that I don't necessarily trust Apple with. Now, I mean, in general, I pretty much trust Apple with most things most of the time, but there are some things that I would just rather not take a chance with. I would really rather not take a chance with my financial records and medical records and things like that. I would rather not upload them to anyone, to anywhere, without them being separately encrypted by me first. There's also this other element that if you start uploading stuff from your desktop and documents folders, you will very quickly run out of space. Apple gives everybody 5 gigabytes for free. We'll talk about this in a minute. If you go past that amount, Apple's going to say, well, you're going to have to pay us some money, some extra money to store all this extra stuff. Because everything in your desktop and documents folder is going to count toward that limit. And you could very, very quickly run into some big bills. So I don't want to tell you you shouldn't use it. It is really great for some types of people, for some types of users. I want to urge you to be cautious. Now, I already had, even before Apple came up with this feature, I had other syncing software I had set up way back when that syncs my desktop and documents folders between my Macs. And I'm like, I'm good. It doesn't use the cloud. It's quick. It's secure. This not only doesn't solve a problem for me, but it could potentially create problems for me. That's me. I don't want to tell you shouldn't use it, but I just want you to be aware of the consequences. Now, if it isn't on yet, and you say, this actually sounds good. I'm perfect for this feature. I want to turn it on. Okay, so you turn it on in your first Mac. Great. It syncs stuff up to the cloud. You're like, pretty good. Now let me go ahead and turn it on my second Mac. You're going to have a problem. Because within iCloud Drive, you're not going to have a desktop folder and a documents folder. You're going to have two. You're going to have a desktop folder and a documents folder for Mac A and a desktop folder and a documents folder for Mac B. You will have to manually merge those things together, sort all that out, so you're left with only one desktop folder and one documents folder. Once you do that, everything will sync the way you expected it to, but initially, Apple's going to make separate folders, which I don't understand the logic there, but anyway, that happens. So that's an annoying thing, and I give more details about how you sort that out in my book. On the other hand, let's say it already is turned on and you want to turn it off. Well, you can just go into that preference pane and uncheck. You click the options button and uncheck documents and data folders, or documents and downloads folder, desktop, geez. You can do that, but that might not have the result that you expect. What will happen if you uncheck that box is that all the stuff that Apple has already synced up to iCloud will stay in iCloud. It will just be deleted off of your Mac. Which, I don't know, for me, that seems like exactly the opposite of what I would want. I would assume that if I'm turning off desktop and document sync, they would put me back to where I started, which was the stuff was only on my Mac and not in the cloud. In fact, that does not happen. The opposite happens. It stays in the cloud and it's not in your Mac. Now, it's not necessarily a really big deal because all that means is now you gotta copy this stuff back down from the cloud onto your Mac. Again, a thing I talk about in my book. It's a hassle, it's an inconvenience, and it's weird because it's not what you would expect to have happen. So I just want you to know it's not painless to turn it on, and it's not painless to turn it off. Once you make a decision, I want it on all the time or I want it off all the time, and you set it up that way, it can work pretty well, but it's kind of a hassle to change. Now, this brings up something else that several people asked about in different forms, which is I'm not sure what stuff that I have is on my Mac and what stuff is in iCloud. Are things in both places, or are they only just one, or which one, or how do I know? So I'm gonna put it this way. Apple would prefer that you not even think about this. Apple's position is, well, why should you care? What difference does it make? As long as you can access your stuff, that should be all you know about or care about. So if I go into my iCloud Drive folder and I see, oh, image.jpg, and that's the image I want, and if I can double click that and see the image, then what do I care whether it's stored in my Mac or it's stored in the cloud or both? So the whole design of iCloud Drive is based on this idea that you shouldn't care or even necessarily know where your stuff is stored. But of course, a lot of us do care. So by default, iCloud Drive works the same way, more or less, that IMAP does. So just like with your email account, the server has the master copy of the file or the folder. Your different devices, which of course can include your iPhone and iPad, have their own copies. If you make a change, you edit a file, or you delete a file, or you move a file locally, then your device will tell the server, hey, make that same change up there. Once the server has made that change, the server tells all your other devices, make the corresponding change. So that's the way it normally should work, which is to say that under most circumstances, if you see an icon for a file or a folder within iCloud Drive, what that means is that it is both on your Mac and in the cloud, except, as I just discussed a moment ago, optimized storage makes things trickier. Optimized storage gives Apple a way to delete local copies to make more space. So, all right, to be very specific, how do you keep something on your Mac, a file or a folder, but remove it from iCloud? Well, it's simple. You just drag it out of the iCloud Drive folder. Anything that is in the iCloud Drive folder or any of its subfolders will be copied to iCloud. Cannot be prevented. That is the fundamental design of it. If you want something on your Mac to not be in iCloud Drive, it has to not be in any of those folders. Now, if you are syncing your desktop folder and your documents folder to iCloud, it means if you want something to only be on your Mac, it can't be in either of those folders either. You're going to have to create another folder someplace that you'll put stuff that won't be on the cloud. And just drag it out of there and drag it to the other folder. That's all you have to do. But anything that is anywhere within that iCloud Drive folder will go to iCloud. What about the reverse? I have a file that is both on my Mac and on iCloud Drive, and I don't want to wait until Apple gets around to possibly deleting this when they decide that I need more storage space. I want to have this item be only in iCloud, and I don't want to have a local copy. What do I do then? In that case, you click the thing. You can control click it or right click it or double tap or whatever your pointing device allows, and there will be a contextual menu that pops up, and you choose remove download. Once you choose that, you'll get that little download icon next to it. That means, yes, iCloud still has a copy of this, but it's not the only thing that's left on your device is the icon. So if you want that thing again locally, you can double click it to download it and open it. Now I said earlier that iCloud Drive is not meant to be a backup. It's not meant to be a backup because if you delete a file or change a file, it's going to change in the cloud too, and it's going to change on all your other devices. And the whole point of a backup is to be able to get at stuff that you have lost or that has changed. But there is a little bit of an exception to it, and Dropbox has something similar. Now, to do this, you have to go to the iCloud website. You have to go to iCloud.com. You cannot do this in the Finder. You can't do it anyplace else. You have to go to iCloud.com and you log in. And you'll see all the icons for the web apps there. But at the top, you'll see Account Settings. Click that. Now you go to this page. And it's going to give you a lot of stuff. It's going to tell you about the different devices you have and things. You scroll until you get down to the very bottom of this page. And there's a little advanced section in the corner there. And it has restore files, restore contacts, restore calendars, restore bookmarks. What this means is when you delete something that iCloud was storing, iCloud is going to hang on to that thing you just deleted for 30 days, only for 30 days. If you go back within 30 days, you can restore the thing that was deleted. So let's say we're talking about a file. I click Restore Files, and then this pops up. All right, there are 2 files listed there that I previously had stored in iCloud Drive, and I've deleted within the past 30 days. Well, I want that one. I want that one back. Yes, untitled.rtf, very exciting file. So I select it, and then I click the Restore button, and that's that. iCloud will put that file back wherever it used to be in my iCloud Drive folder. You will notice, however, that maybe not everything that you have deleted that you thought should be here is here, and that's because of this fine print down here in light gray that nobody ever reads. And what this is basically saying is not everything is going to show up here. Some of the stuff that you might want to recover that was deleted from within certain apps, that have been specially designed to store their stuff in iCloud. If you want those, then you got to go to a different place. And the place you go is iCloud Drive. So you're still in iCloud.com, but you go to the iCloud Drive icon. That's one of the web apps. Okay, again, you're going to see all the folders for all of your stuff, just like you see in the Finder. But down in the lower right-hand corner is a recently deleted. So you click that to then look for those files and folders that were stored within apps that were recently deleted. This is, again, something you can't do on your Mac from the Finder. You can only do this in a web browser. I find all this a little less than crystal clear. I don't know about you. This seems like a lot of, like they're really going out of their way to hide this, make it less obvious and accessible than it could be, but that's how it's set up. Now, all this stuff that you have in iCloud Drive, things that your apps are syncing, all those folders and files that you put there yourself, your desktop and documents folder, if you use that feature, it's all going up to the cloud. And I mentioned that everybody gets a whopping 5 gigabytes of storage for free. Well, the iCloud backups of just my iPad take up more space than that. And I've got, an iPhone, and I've got a bunch of Macs, and so 5 gigabytes might have seemed generous 10 years ago. Nowadays, it's just ridiculous. You might not be able to back up a single iOS device with 5 gigabytes of storage. And so almost everyone is going to go over that. not only, so let's just review some of the things that can count toward that amount of data that they're giving you. So iCloud Mail, so any of the email messages that you have sent or received only from your iCloud.com account will count toward that. Of course, that could include attachments. Attachments you send, attachments you receive. Obviously, everything in iCloud Drive that we previously discussed. All of your iCloud photos. I have like, I don't know, 160 gigabytes of photos or something. I have a lot of photos. Of course, all that is going to count toward your quota, as well as backups of your iPhone, iPad, iPod Touch. Now, 5 gigabytes is not enough for most of us. But on the plus side, there are some things that you could do with iCloud that don't count toward that quota, and that includes all these things. So if I purchase a TV show from Apple, however big that TV show is or movie or whatever, that's not going to count toward my storage quota. And the reason is that Apple already has a copy of that. They're not going to back up an extra copy just because you bought it. So that doesn't count. If you happen to use the My Photo Stream feature in Photos, which is just a temporary online storage space for a limited number of photos, that doesn't count. If you send email attachments with mail drop, that doesn't count either because those are only good for 30 days and then they disappear. So the theme here is anything that is ephemeral doesn't count toward that quota. If you pay Apple $25 a year for the iTunes Match service, which I do because I don't subscribe to Apple Music, and this lets me sync all of my my iTunes or music tracks across my devices, then however much storage space your music takes up will not count toward that either. But you may be wondering, okay, how much space do I have? How much of it is filled up? And how much do I have left? So there are a bunch of places you can go to find that out. Back here, where we've been a few times in your Apple ID preference pane, if you look down at the bottom, there's this little colorful bar chart. And if you hover over one of those little colored bands with your mouse, each band represents a different app or a different type of data that is stored in iCloud. So in this example, you can see this particular computer has 2.32 gigabytes worth of data from messages that are stored in iCloud. Messages themselves don't take up a lot of space, but photos and videos sure do. So most of that is photos and videos. And so you can mouse over to different colored bands to see how much you have. Now, if you're like, well, I just really don't need to keep backups of my messages in iCloud or data from some particular app or whatever the case may be. Well, go over here and click the Manage button. And then all the way down the left-hand sidebar will be a list of all the different categories, your photos and your backups and each of the apps and messages and so forth. And if you want to say, okay, I don't want to keep my photos in the cloud anymore. I can't afford it. I got to get rid of that stuff. You would select Photos on the left, go over here, click Turn Off and Delete, and what would happen is that anything that is only stored in iCloud and is not on your Mac would be downloaded, and then it would be removed from iCloud. Now, you can do this for as many categories as you need to, but remember, you may have become dependent on some of these things. You turn this off for photos, all of a sudden you're going to find out that your photos are different on every single device that you use. Wait a minute, where's that picture that I just took on my iPhone? Sorry, it's not there anymore because you stopped syncing it via iCloud. So there are consequences to this. Of course, what Apple would like you to do, and candidly, the real reason that they put this whole desktop and documents syncing feature in there in the first place is to get you to buy more storage. If you need more storage, you can pay 99 cents a month for 50 gigabytes or $2.99 for 200 or $10 a month for 2 terabytes. Now, in fairness, that's a pretty good deal. 2 terabytes is a lot of storage, and $10 a month is in the ballpark of what Dropbox and other companies would charge you for that amount of storage. So if you have a legitimate need for that much stuff in the cloud, it's not unreasonable, but it's not nothing either. So if you don't want to pay for that extra space, or if you want to pay less, I'm on the 2 terabyte plan and I want to scale back to the 200 gigabyte plan, what do? Well, you can stop syncing stuff. You can say, well, I'm going to turn off the desktop and document sync and just go through the hassle of moving all those things manually because it's just too much. Or you can decide I'm going to turn off the photo sync, or I'm going to turn off some other category, or I'm going to stop backing up my iPhone and my iPad to the cloud, and instead I will manually back them up to iTunes if you're using Mojave or earlier, or to the Finder if you're using Catalina. You can do that. It's a pain in the neck. I don't do it because it's just such a big hassle, and I know that I will always forget to connect it up and do the sync and blah, 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 and life is too short. So for me, the right answer is to go ahead and pay Apple a bit of money every month to make sure that I am not, the victim of my own forgetfulness. But depending on your particular needs and finances, you might make a different decision. Somebody asked, why can I not use Time Machine to back up to iCloud? Now, I hope that by now, the things that I've said about iCloud Drive have given you a few hints as to why that may be, but let me expand on that. And the first thing I'm going to tell you might surprise you, and that is performance. Now, I back up my Macs in my house to Time Machine over our network. So I have a Mac here that functions as a Time Machine server. It's got big hard drive connected to it, and then all of the Macs connect to that, and they all back up over the network. Time Machine backups, even over our very fast local network, take a while. And restoring files takes longer. Even just saying, okay, let me go into Time Machine and figure out what I have, and let's go back in time a little bit and back a little bit more and see what's there. That kind of stuff, even over a fast local network, it's pretty slow. Now, do that over the internet, it's going to be really, really, really slow, and that's going to be freaking annoying. Everybody's going to hate that. So performance is going to be one of the reasons. Also remember, just like I talked about earlier, if you're backing up your Mac over your internet connection, you are going to be sending many, many terabytes of data over time that could mess with your data cap that your internet provider imposes, could overwhelm your local network, could just get to be really, really slow if you don't have a super fast, gigabit or fiber internet connection. It's not going to be pleasant. Second reason is reliability. Backups are super important, and when I need something for my backup, I need it badly, and I need it right now. Well, if I connect a hard drive to my Mac and use Time Machine with that, unless the hard drive dies, I can be pretty sure that I'm going to get that stuff back right away. What if my internet connection goes down? Well, then I'm out of luck. I can't get at my backups. What if my entire machine dies and I need to restore my entire computer from a Time Machine backup that's stored in the cloud? Well, first of all, it's going to take weeks. And secondly, if anything goes wrong with my internet connection or Apple servers in that time, that could be really unpleasant. Let us also not forget, that's going to take up even more storage space in the cloud, which you're going to have to pay even more for. And remember, the Time Machine doesn't just store one version of files, it stores many, 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 many versions of files. So every time you change a file, that new version would be stored in Time Machine, and that's going to increase the amount of storage space you need. That, in turn, is going to make iCloud cost even more than it already does. Now listen, on Monday, WWDC is going to start, and Apple's going to make their annual announcements. Here's the stuff that's going to change in the next Mac OS. Here's the stuff that's going to change in the next iOS. I have heard no rumors one way or another about changes to iCloud. For all I know, Apple might announce that they are completely revamping iCloud top to bottom, and hey, we figured it out. We've found a way to do backups to iCloud.
Did you eat your lunch?
We'll see. I really, really, really doubt it. I really, really doubt it. But as of today, this situation. Now, something is bound to change. Something that I told you today is bound to be different once WWDC rolls around, and especially once the new operating systems come out later this year. But this is how things are today. So I want to talk about solving problems. And there are many potential problems a person might have with iCloud. Let's talk about a couple of them. The big one, which comes in many different forms, is where's my stuff there? I took a photo on my iPhone. Everything's set up to sync, but I go open iPhotos, I open Photos on my Mac. Excuse me. And like, it's been an hour. Why isn't my photo there? I change a document in a folder in iCloud Drive, and I go onto another device, and it's not there. I sent an email message from my iPad, and I go look at my Mac in the sent folder. It's not there. Aren't things just all supposed to sync instantly, automatically, beautifully? Well, they are supposed to do that, and very often they don't. Why didn't they? Well, there could have been a lot of reasons. For example, it could be that something on one device that was supposed to be turned on is not turned on. You might have turned something off accidentally or experimentally or just forgotten about it. So there is, there's a small possibility of user error. It does happen, but it's not really very common. Maybe there are network problems in your local network, problems with the internet. And since you're talking about, your device connecting to something that connects to the internet, and then another device that connects somewhere else in some other way to the internet, there are lots of different ways that network problems could cause something not to sync. There could also be a problem on Apple's servers. Maybe some service is just not working at that particular moment. These kinds of things are pretty common. There could also be bugs. Let's put it differently. There are bugs. There are lots of bugs. There are lots of bugs in every version of every operating system that Apple makes and in every app. And lots of those bugs have to do with iCloud. The thing I want you to know is when a thing isn't working the way you think it ought to be working, it's not you. It's Apple. I mean it. It's not you. It's not your fault. It's Apple. I can't tell you how many times people have said, I must be doing something wrong. Things aren't syncing correctly. I'm like, I believe you that things are not syncing correctly. That does not mean you're doing anything wrong. There's a little chance. There's a slight chance you might have done something wrong. But the overwhelming likelihood is that you're not doing anything wrong, but some bug or network problem or other thing that is Apple's problem is at fault. So first of all, I just want you to say, okay, it's not, at least it's not me. It's not me. Solve the problem. So the first thing you might do if you're encountering some sort of syncing problem, this is the easy thing, is just turn that thing off and turn it back on. Okay, so if your photos aren't syncing, you might go into that Apple ID preference pane we've seen a few times, and then just uncheck photos and give it a few minutes, then check it again. Or whatever the category is, if it's iCloud Drive or if it's contacts or whatever, you uncheck that, wait a little bit, check it again. Sometimes just turning it off and back on again is enough to jog it back to life. I don't know why. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it doesn't work. Now, in cases where the really easy thing doesn't work, I have a more elaborate thing. It's going to take you a little bit longer, but it works. I'm not going to say 100% of the time because that would be a fib, but it works the vast majority of times. Again, this is in my book, but basically here you go. First of all, sign out from iCloud. I don't just mean uncheck mail, uncheck contacts, uncheck calendars. No. I mean, click the sign out button. You'll find it either in the iCloud preferences or, of course, if you're using Catalina in the Apple ID preferences, or you can find it on your iOS device, but sign out altogether. And when you do, there are going to be a bunch of alerts. Okay, well, should I keep your contacts here on this device or should I delete them? Should I keep your photos here on this device or should I delete them? Now, you can answer these things however you want. It really doesn't matter much what you choose because we're just going to be turning it back on in a minute. You're going to end up with the stuff being back on your device whether you delete it now or not. Now, next thing, and people don't do this, but I'm telling you, don't skip this step. You got to really do this. If you're using a Mac, restart it. Don't skip this step. Just because you've signed out doesn't mean you can immediately sign back in again. You can, but don't. Restart your Mac. If you're using an iOS device, an iPad, whatever, turn it off, turn it back on again. Then go back in and sign in. Back to system preferences, to iCloud or to the Apple ID or settings on your Mac, go back to that place, sign in again. Ask for your username, password. It might do the two-factor authentication depending on how you have things set up. Sign back in again and recheck all the things that used to be checked. If if anything is not selected, make sure it's selected, turn on. Now you're going to have to wait because even if you didn't delete all that stuff from your device, Apple has to check. Has to go through every contact, every calendar item, every photo, and make sure that you have the most recent version. And if it turns out you don't have the most recent version, then it's got to copy it down. This is going to take a while. It could take hours and hours. If that doesn't work, if you're still experiencing the same symptoms, you're going to have to go back and do all those first three steps. You have to do these three steps again, sign out, restart, okay? Not just on the device where you seem to be having problems, but on all your devices. Sign out on your iPad, sign out on your iPhone, sign out on your Apple TV, sign out on your home, sign out everywhere. Take a deep cleansing breath, go back and sign in everywhere, wait a few hours for things to sync. In the vast majority of cases, once you've done this, things will go back to syncing properly. Can I guarantee it? Absolutely. Certainly not. But in my experience, this solves most syncing problems most of the time. Someone asked, how reliable is iCloud now? I've lost data in the past. And my official response as someone who has studied this for quite some time is, who can say? I have personally found it to be quite reliable. Honestly, most of the time, for most people, taking most kinds of data in most situations, usually it's very, very reliable. But we're talking about the internet. We're talking about the cloud. We're talking about really super complex stuff. Things go wrong. They just do. When things go wrong, nearly all the time, it's not your fault. But things will go wrong. So I can't stand here and tell you that it's 100% reliable. Of course it isn't, but neither is anything else. There isn't an internet system ever invented that is 100% reliable. All I can tell you is, for the most part, it's really quite good. Make sure you back up all your data. Have great backups. That's the best thing you can do to protect against data loss. But also, you should be aware of this URL that I put on the screen. apple.com/support/system status. Now, if you go there, you'll see something like this, or at least you should. All the different internet services that are part of iCloud and other Apple-related internet services that, Maps and Screen Time and Siri and all those things. In theory, when something stops working, one of these symbols will turn to yellow or to red, and then there will be an explanation of what isn't working and when it stopped working, and for whom it's not working and when they plan to get it working. Now, I have personally seen multiple times a thing goes down, and I check the system status and everything's green. And I'm like, well, no, everybody's reporting on Twitter that photo syncing is down or something. And everybody knows that it's not right, it's not working. And then 2 or 3 hours later, okay, finally that turns yellow or it turns red because Apple eventually gets around to admitting that a thing isn't working. Apple's not great at admitting that things don't work perfectly. So this is not an automatic, real-time, perfect snapshot of what's working, but if something significant is down for a while, it's good to check here before panicking, because it could just be that something's going a little screwy on their side, and it might take a little while to get it back. Now, as a reminder, this and tons more stuff is covered in my iCloud book. Also, as a reminder, that book is a little outdated. I'm working on a new edition. Should be available in the next month, hopefully less. And if you buy the book now, it'll be a free update. But if you want to learn more about iCloud, this is a good way to do so. So having said all that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and ask if there are any other questions that I can attempt to answer. Marcy, I see your hand. You can just unmute yourself. There you go.
Okay, great. Actually, two questions. My big burning question is, can you confirm again what I think you said about not syncing with iOS devices with email? I have a Gmail, and they're both all, and a me account or Mac.com. They're both iMac.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told by Dan Wasik that the only way to get rid of email on all devices is to do it from the iCloud account.
Okay, so just remember, each one of your email accounts is an independent entity. So Apple knows nothing of your Gmail account. I mean, I'm fibbing a little bit, but let's just for the sake of answering this question. If you have a Gmail account that you want to not have on your iPhone anymore, got to go to your iPhone and delete it. If it's still set up on your iPad, you got to go to your iPad and delete it, because that information is not shared across iOS devices or between iOS devices and Macs. So, if you set up your iCloud account on one device and then you set it up on another device, and all of the messages and mailboxes and so forth that are part of that iCloud email account will of course sync between the devices. But there's this trick that happens only on Macs, where if you set up a Gmail account on one Mac, it'll appear on your other Macs too. But it doesn't go from Mac to iOS, doesn't go from iOS to Mac, doesn't go from one iOS device to another. So that information that's just like, I have this account and here's the username and password, that will sync from Mac to Mac, but it won't sync in any sense to or from iOS devices. So if you say, I've got a new iPad now, I had Gmail working on my old iPad, I want to get it working on my new iPad too. Okay, fine. Go into settings and set up, set up a new email account with your Gmail credentials, but it won't happen automatically.
Okay, if I want to keep both email addresses,
mm-hmm.
Can I go to Gmail on the internet and tweak my settings so that when I do delete it from my iOS device, it will delete it from my laptop?
It doesn't work like that. So if you're talking about the account itself, remember, Gmail, Google, does not have any control over what you do on your individual devices. So Google could delete, if you delete a message, like I send you a message that says hello, just the message, if you delete that on one device, it should delete on the other devices too, as long as in your Gmail settings, as long as you have IMAP enabled, which most people do. So normally that would be the case. But in terms of the overall account, that is something that Google can't reach into your device to turn on or off.
Okay, so but individual emails, I can delete on one device and it will delete on another?
Absolutely, yes.
But it has to be a setting you have to go to Gmail and do?
If you go to here, I'm going to do this right now. I can't show you, but I just want to make sure that I'm telling you the right thing. So if you go to gmail.com, you log in. Up at the top, you'll see a little gear icon for settings. So click that. And They move things around again. Okay, yeah. Then click See All Settings.
Are you showing your screen?
No, I'm not showing my screen. Unfortunately, I can't show you, but I'm just walking through it to make sure I'm telling you the correct thing.
Okay.
So once you get to the screen that is all of the settings, there are all these tabs across the top: General, Labels, Inbox, Accounts, etc. So there's one label that says Forwarding and Pop/IMAP. And click that. Then it says there's different sections. There's a forwarding section, a pop download section, and an IMAP access section. So you just want to make sure that Enable IMAP is selected. Now, I would expect that it probably will be already, but you want to go there and check. If it isn't, go ahead and select that.
Are you on camera?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have for some time had the same private domain, and the only way I could keep that when my original domain server went bust was to go to buy a G Suite account, Gmail, a Google G Suite account for $5 a month, because they would then allow me to use an alias email address. So I don't have me.com, I don't have gmail.com, I have it happens to be my last name, .com.
Gotcha.
Does iCloud now offer a similar thing, or am I still stuck with Gmail?
iCloud does not. Now, back in the me.com era, so at first there was iTools, and then it became mac.com and me.com, and then iCloud took over from that. So in the mac.com and the me.com era, you used to be able to do that. You used to be able to associate another domain name with your email addresses, but that went away with iCloud. I would be very, very surprised if it ever came back.
Okay.
Now, there are other email providers besides Gmail that will let you do that. I do that too, but I don't do it through Gmail. But whether you're paying Google or you're paying somebody else, you're almost certainly going to have to pay somebody some amount of money to be able to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I have another question about Apple ID.
Okay.
For probably years now, every once in a while, and it's getting more frequent, this thing pops up that says you cannot get back into your Apple settings unless you do this, this, and this, and it goes continue, and it's this vicious loop. And then I finally get to I put in my Apple ID, I put in the password for my laptop, and I can't even tell you what order it is. But then I finally get to this page that says, put in your password for your iPad. I don't have a password for my iPad.
It probably means your passcode.
No, because the authentication code is like 6 numbers, but that passcode thing is that you get is like 4 little boxes. But the authentication code that I'm mixed up with is 6 digits.
No, I mean not your, but like the code that you would put in to unlock your iPad.
I don't use a security. It's not a double thing. I don't use a security to sign into my iPad. I just open it up and up there.
Okay.
I don't use a password. So
Okay.
if asking me for a password, I don't have.
Might you have set one up even if you don't use it? Like you set one up but turn it off?
Years ago, and I don't remember what the hell it is. I must have used it for 20 minutes.
What I would suggest is at least worth a try is go back and set up a new one. And then trying to figure out where that is here. I guess I'd go to Touch ID and passcode.
Okay, set up a new one.
Try that. See if it will let you set up a new one. And then once you have set that up, see if that will satisfy that inquiry. And then once you're in, then you can just turn off the iPad on, turn off the passcode to actually unlock your iPad. Now, we also have a separate book, separate from my iCloud book, called Take Control of Your Apple ID. It was written by Glenn Fleischman, and he delves into much more detail on how Apple IDs work and how to solve various kinds of problems with them. I don't know off the top of my head whether he discusses that specific issue, but it would be worth a look if you continue having problems.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Joe, I have a question. When Marcy told me that, I got kind of concerned because it seems that she was being asked for a lot of really private information. You know, her password for her computer, for all of these different systems, and I've never seen anything like that from Apple. Is this a common procedure?
It happens. I will just say that that malware on iOS and iPadOS is incredibly rare. It's really, really, really hard to get past all of Apple's checks. Now, one thing you could see on an iPad is something popping up inside a browser that is saying, oh, you know, trying to con you into giving your credentials. If it happens inside a browser, like inside Safari, I would be a little bit suspicious. But if it's any place else, the odds against that being malicious are really high. So I would say in almost every case, as long as it's not inside a browser, you can probably trust that that's really coming from Apple.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah. Okay.
I think you might be talking about like certificates. That's where I get the weird stuff. These certificates pop up.
Certificates. That's interesting.
That's why there's gremlins in all my devices.
That word concerns me a little bit. Can you give me any more context?
Well, I've been getting these also on my laptop. A certificate will pop up and say, it'll show, and what John's talking about is it's asking me for weird things. It'll tell me to click on something that I didn't even, I've never been to that website before. And then it'll say it's going to expire in a couple days. I just as soon go in and get rid of it, but I can't. The certificates are there until they expire. Dan Wassing said they usually renew, the good ones renew automatically. So why would these warnings be popping up and says the certificate's about to expire? Here's a link and click on it. So I don't click on it, I just close it. But they've been doing this recently.
Okay, so let me answer this in two different ways. The first thing I would like to say is, would you take a screenshot of it and send it to me?
Sure,
I would like to take a look. So send me a screenshot. Tell me what site you were going to, and show me what it looks like, and let me look into it. Because I'm very curious. So just send it to joe@takecontrolbooks.com.
Thank you.
Now, as a general statement, my website and most websites these days use TLS or SSL certificates as a security feature to encrypt the information that travels back and forth between our server and your browser. This is a good thing. It's an important thing. And that's what gives you the little lock icon in your browser's address bar. It tells you, okay, this is a secure connection. Now, in order to do this, I have to go to an outside provider and get a certificate that is installed in my server that says, here are the encryption credentials, and we verify that everything's working correctly. Now, depending on where you get your certificate and what kind of a certificate it is, it could expire. Sometimes they only last for 30 days. Sometimes they only last for 90 days. Sometimes they last for a year. And what can happen sometimes is, what ought to happen is that the person running the website, the company running the website, should have it all set up to renew automatically. So if I have a certificate that's good for 90 days, then somewhere around like 80 days, my server ought to go through an automated process to renew it, so it's just completely transparent to everyone. But if the site doesn't have a thing like that set up, or if their process fails for any reason, then what could happen is you go to the site, and the site itself is fine. The only problem is that their certificate expired last week and nobody renewed it. And so your browser will give you a warning. Well, yes, this site does use encryption, but the certificate is expired. Now, if you encounter a site like that, there is this process that you can manually go through to say, okay, I know it's expired, but I'm willing to take the risk, and I'm gonna certify that it's okay with me for you to go ahead and show me this site, even though the certificate is expired. So that is one possible reason you could be seeing this sort of thing. But those sorts of things are they're fairly rare, and usually what happens is the site has an expired certificate for a couple of days, and then they start getting complaints of like, oh yeah, we got to renew that. So they renew it, and then the problem just magically goes away. If it's a recurring thing, then that starts to worry me, and I'd like to know more about it.
Okay. Well, the one I remember recently had a link that I would click on, and it was a link I had never seen before. I've never clicked on that URL, and that's why I didn't click on it.
Yeah. I'll check into it for you.
Okay, thanks. Thank you. Great. This is wonderful. Oh, I have another thing. The Apple ID issue. I don't know if other people have it. I'm on it, and I try to click out of it, and then it says, do you want to store everything on iCloud? And it archives. It says if you don't, you'll lose everything that's on your laptop or your computer. And then I say, okay, go ahead. And then it creates this huge document on my laptop that says archived.
Yep.
All these things are archived.
Yep.
So I'm damned if I do. If I'm damned if I don't. So
yes.
So room on my laptop with an archive.
You're exactly correct. So the idea of that is if you decide you're going to stop using iCloud, I mean it's one thing if I'm going to turn off iCloud Drive temporarily and then turn it right back on. But if I'm going to stop using iCloud on a device altogether, Apple's like, well, then you'll lose access to all of your files. We don't want that. We know you want your files, right? So we're gonna copy them all down to your Mac and put them in this archive folder. So that they're doing this in an attempt to be helpful, in an attempt to make sure you don't lose any data. Problem is that then you gotta sort all that stuff out and put it where you really want it to go. It's not necessarily gonna you don't want it to be in an archive folder. You want it to be where it was in the first place. So it's not bad that they do it, but they could do it in a friendlier, more helpful way.
Yeah. Instead of warning you. Thank you.
So, Joe, is that what happens when you're talking about getting things to sync again, where you're turning everything off and then turning it on again? Is that what's going to happen?
If you use the desktop and documents syncing feature, yes,
okay.
That could happen.
Okay.
That's yet another reason I don't use that feature.
Huh.
And I mean, again, the reason for this is to prevent you from losing data, because Apple has no idea what your intentions are, what you're going to do next. Are you going to turn this back on? Are you leaving us forever? What's going on here? So Apple wants you to not lose data. It's just that they haven't designed the user experience to be very self-explanatory. So
That's kind.
sorry, it's not you.
Okay.
Joe, you suggested when things go wrong, turning off the computer, turning it back on, or signing out. I did that, and all my desktop folders disappeared. I don't know where they are. A lot of these screenshots I took, I can't even send Apple or YouTube.
They're somewhere in that archive, I'll bet. Because again, when you sign out completely, if you had the desktop and documents folder syncing, then they're going to stop syncing, and Apple is going to put all that stuff that used to be up there in the cloud in that archive someplace on your disk so that you can get at them later. But then you're going to have to go root through that folder. Oh, okay, these were the things I wanted to have on my desktop. Let's put those back there. These are the things I wanted to have in my documents folder. Let's put them back there. So
And
a real
it's
pleasure
always a
being with
pleasure.
you as always. Thank you for your kind attention, and stay blessed there.
Thank you. Bye. Okay. You see that man?